Now, by the time that this video releases, it'll probably be June or July in the world, but I'm recording this at the end of March 2025. And as of right now, it's probably the worst time it's ever been to review a Tesla product. But with Tesla's lack of press support, I have to take advantage of when I can get access to cars, and this just happens to be when I can get access to this car. But what I'm gonna do today, since this is a car review channel, not a politics channel, I'm gonna show you the 15 things that you should know about the Tesla Model 3. By the way, my name is Matt, and this is Downshift. Let's get into it. Now, before we dive into the meat and potatoes on the Model 3 here, let's talk about some of the funky little quirks going on. Now, the gear selector, you've got a backup one up here. It's hard to see, but there's a where is it? Yeah, PRND. There's a backup up here. But what they want you to do is use a gear selector like this. Forward, backward, tap to park. But they've also got a beta rolled out in your Dynamics tab that says Auto Shift. And what that's going to do is it's going to use the cameras and the radar to detect where you are. If you've pulled into your garage, for example, and obviously there's no way to go forward, it'll automatically put you in reverse. Again, not really something that I would probably use or think is necessary at all, because it's never been cumbersome for me to shift into reverse or drive. And to be honest, I don't really want a computer guessing what it wants me to do. Also, I mentioned before, your glove box is in the screen, and it's magnetic and very loud when you close it. And Tesla's app is still one of the best in the game. You can do everything from your phone, to the point where most people don't even carry these little cards around anymore. They just use their phone to operate as a key, and you can do everything like precondition, vent it, honk at stuff, turn on Sentry mode to use, the car as a dash cam to record any goings on, like people trying to maybe, vandalize your car. But it's a great app. It's probably the best in the business. Tesla is also very proud of their new 17-speaker audio system, which, yeah, it does sound pretty good. And as you could probably imagine, there is no start-stop button anywhere in the car. You just sit down, put your foot on the brake, and then you can select whether you want to go into drive, or reverse, or park, or if you want to use the backups, or if you want the computer to decide what you're going to do. And as we mentioned before, things like climate is of course in your screen. You get to this bigger climate screen here, and you've got a couple different options. You've got a dog mode, which will run the air conditioning or the interior climate controls and put up a little note on the screen that says it's being kept at whatever temperature it is, and my owner will be back soon. So, Oscar from the office doesn't break your rear window with the tire iron and, let your dog out. But there's also camp mode, which basically functions at the same thing, and the battery will stay on and run the climate control until it reaches 20%. You've also got some security stuff that will be disabled, so if you're walking around your car on the campsite, it's not going to beep and ding and turn lights on and, wake you up or other campers around you. It's a pretty nice feature. You do have Sentry mode, which will basically use the cameras around the car as like a security camera. So if anyone does try to mess with your car, you've got Sentry mode. And of course you can get it on your app. If you want to see the footage, you can look at it in here, and it's nice. Again, it'll also function while you're driving. So if anyone crashes into you, you have proof that you weren't at fault. Also, I thought this was a little strange. With everything being in the screen, you still have physical controls for your seat adjustments. I guess that's still nice. Your visors also have an interesting thing going on. The mirror itself for vanity is magnetic. It has two little tiers. And the light comes on when you open the second tier, but it doesn't with the first tier. So if you fold it just halfway, no light for you. But zooming back out, let's talk about what this is and what it competes against. Now, this is Tesla's compact, most affordable sedan. And that actually doesn't really exist a lot in the wild. There's really only like two rivals to this. There's the Hyundai Ioni6, which is probably priced to be the most competitive rival. But then there's things like the BMW i4, maybe i5, although that's quite a bit bigger if you want to spend more money. Or Polestar, spin-off of Volvo, kind of not really, has their Polestar 2, which is quite good and very similar to this, but is a bit more expensive. So what's new for 2025 then? Well, 2024 was kind of the big refresh year, and they made some big improvements, and we'll talk about those throughout the video. But 2025 sees the end of the standard range battery, so it's long range all the time, which means 80 kilowatt hour battery, and we'll talk about that more in a second. But here, like I mentioned, you can get a rear wheel drive single motor, or what we have is the dual motor version. We've got a dual motor long range. It's good for 394 horsepower and 377 pound-feet of torque. Those numbers are difficult difficult to find because Tesla doesn't really quote them. What they do quote is 0 to 60, and it's about the mid to low 4 seconds. It's pretty quick in the real world. People are getting just a hair over 4 seconds to 60. But with that, we will talk about the battery and range. Now, like I said, standard range is gone, so everything is going to get the 80 kilowatt hour long range battery pack. In rear wheel drive, the car is good for 363 miles, but with all wheel drive, you're only down about 17 miles at 346. So it seems like a pretty easy choice in my eyes to go for all wheel drive with the added traction and performance that you get and only sacrificing less than 20 miles of range. But then in terms of charging, it'll charge up to 250 kilowatts. It's still integrated, as you can see, into the rear driver's side taillight. You will have to share the Tesla network with other brands now, so things are getting a little cluttered and a little bit messy, but it's still probably the best and most reliable chargers in the wild. But then again, we'll talk more about this behind the wheel later, but I do want to touch on the weight and dynamics. This car tips the scales with the dual motors at just over 4,000 pounds, 4,030 pounds. And everything has been updated and improved for this new facelifted version. The ride is better, it's quieter, it just feels better everywhere. And again, we'll talk about that more behind the wheel at the end of the video. And as we touch on styling, now obviously this is the facelifted Model 3. Kind of call it the second generation, but I guess it's not technically. But you do get new headlights and a front fascia. It looks a little bit more sleek, it's more aero efficient, and it still looks maybe a little bit generic for my taste, but the stealth gray that we have here looks pretty good. And I do think it looks good with these 18-inch aero wheels. I kind of think that this wheel is the better option. You can go up to a 19-inch wheel for another $1,000, but it's not quite as good looking and it's gonna hurt your range a little bit. But as we back out, the profile is basically identical to what we saw before, although maybe a little bit more tapered in the front. And the rear 3/4 is still probably one of the better looking angles on the car. The taillights are new, it spells out Tesla across the back rather than having the T. You've still got a dual motor badge off to one side, and your lower diffuser bumper area has been updated. Overall, I don't know that it's bad looking, it's definitely better looking than it was a year or two ago. It just still looks a little nondescript to me. On a more practical note, the trunk is powered. As you can see, there's no separate button for close and lock, but to have powered is a pretty luxurious feature in something like this. And then the opening is a little bit strange. It's very vertical, almost like it is in the Lucid, and that's because the glass comes all the way back here. So in a normal sedan with a 3-box shape, you'd have a little bit more trunk here, so have a little bit more vertical opening to drop stuff in. But it still is a pretty decent size. It's 21 cubic feet. You've got little pockets on either side for, I don't know, things like gallons of whatever. But the seats do fold 60-40, which is pretty nice, but it doesn't stop there. You come around to the side of the car and to the front, and you have a frunk, which is not something that you're going to have. It's 3 cubic feet. It's not something that you're going to have in the Hyundai Ioni5 and Ioni6. You kind of technically have a frunk there, but it doesn't really hold anything besides a laptop. And the BMW, you're not going to get a frunk. But cargo capacity, pretty optimized for the Model 3 here, as you might expect. We will check out the rear seats. We have the funky door handles, as you would expect. Frameless windows, and they're kind of double glazed, acoustic laminated throughout the entire car. That's a big thing for this year. But we'll talk about the door card real quick. We do have some ambient light stripping that continues from the front. We've got some suede, some contrast stitching here, leather wrapped all the way down. I mean, this is pretty nice. We've got some felt lining in here, 17 speakers for the car, and the space itself is actually pretty decent. I'll step in at 6'1". I've already hit my head on this just now, but I do have pretty decent knee room. I will have more leg room in an Ioni6, but in a BMW i4, this is pretty similar. And I think the Polestar is pretty similar to this, but this is the big story for the facelift, or for the updated version here. We have a little helper screen, so I can control things like my third zone of climate back here. I can go here and stream media. I can watch things like Downshift videos, which would be sick. And then if I go here, I've got different games that I can play in here. Like I said, I've got vents for a climate zone, I've got USB-Cs, the floor is totally flat, although it is pretty high. My knees are pretty high here, so not a lot of under thigh support. But here at 6'1", the whole roof is glass, which is cool. It's UV treated, so I'm not gonna burn. But even with my nub, I am hitting that glass roof. So not perfect, but with the tapered kind of aerodynamic shape here, I think they've optimized the space pretty well. And this is a pretty nice thing. It's placed a little bit low and awkward, but I don't know where else you'd put it without putting it on the backs of each of the seats, but that's gonna cost more money. So overall, the back seats, not too bad. Oh, and they're heated, by the way. 3 levels in the back for each of the outboard seats. We'll check out the front. Now this is interesting actually because everything is controlled in the screen. Your mirrors, your steering wheel, all that's controlled in the screen. But you still have old school conventional controls for your seat, which I do kind of like, but it did catch me out. I was like in the screen looking for where to adjust my seat. But the seats themselves are fairly comfortable. Again, I feel like I'm sitting a little bit high. That's possibly just due to the EV nature with the battery being in the floor, but I do feel like I'm sitting up pretty high in this. But the seats are fairly comfortable. It's 3-level heated and 3-level cooled. You've got the perforations in here now for this year. And the steering wheel itself, again, you adjust it in the screen, but you've got 2-level heated for your steering wheel as well. And again, you can kind of customize and set this stuff to have it remember you based on your app or your little Tesla card too. But really, as we touch on the interior as a whole, I will say quality is noticeably nicer. The materials, the build, the fit and finish is noticeably nicer than the old car. I still don't know that I kind of see it as like a luxury tier product, but it's getting better. It's kind of maybe the Mazda kind of in between economy and luxury, and the price point kind of reflects that. But the thing that really helps it is kind of the suede door cards and the full width or the full loop wraparound ambient light. It's really pretty cool. I do like that. It's not the most robust ambient light, but it's nice to have in here. And I do like the fact that on the dash, that textile replaces that wood trimming. It feels a little bit more Scandinavian, a little bit more soundbar, and more expensive feeling. The big problem from an interior perspective is that there's no stalks of any kind, there's no buttons of any kind, so anything that you want to do involves this screen. It's a good screen, but with things like, I don't know, blinkers, turn signals, I'd like a stalk. I mean, I don't think that's too much to ask. I get the minimalism thing, but this seems like a bridge too far. But we have the black interior. If you want to spend an extra $1,000, you can get a white interior, which looks very crisp, and that's what I would probably do, even though it's probably not the most sensible thing. But overall, the story is the usability and tactility, pretty frustrating to get used to, but the actual build quality of the interior and the materials, better than it used to be. And we touched on it before, but we will talk about technology a little bit more in depth here. We talked about the kind of frustration of not having turn signal stalks and things like that, and just physicality of like the traditional stuff you would see in a car. And it kind of continues with the technology. Now we have this single screen here, so we don't have a gauge cluster in front of us, and we don't have a head-up display. So anytime I want to see how fast I'm going, I have to look over here, and then it's right here where the speed is going to be, which is just kind of annoying. I have to take my eyes off. It's not the biggest deal. It's placed in the best place it could be for a single screen, but again, just feels like, you know, the Mach-E, the Ioniq6, the Ioniq 5, like everything else gives you a screen here. It just seems to be the way to go. But the center screen itself is huge. It's 15.4 inches. The bezel is a little bit smaller, so it feels bigger. It feels more expensive and more premium. It's incredibly quick. The processing power, I mean, everything pulls. Look at this. I'm jumping through big menus and it's pulling up everything really, really quick, which is really cool. You go into reverse and then you've got reverse camera, side view cameras, no forward camera, and no 360 top-down camera. That being said, that is a ding, and I really don't like that, and I don't know why they haven't done this, but you do have very good radar systems. So even the parking lines, it's picking up in the radar. If the person comes over to talk to me, it'll pick them up. So it kind of functions as a 360 camera, but it feels like, you know, you can get a 360 camera on like a mid-grade Hyundai, so I don't know why you can't get it here on your Tesla. But again, no Apple CarPlay, no Android Auto. I know why they do this, because their in-house built system is very good, and it's also better for route planning to not rely on like a third-party Google Apps that's, you know, tethered into Apple CarPlay or whatever. It's just easier. You see like all the EV startups, Rivian, Tesla, obviously doing that, but even GM in their EVs, they don't give you Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. Just kind of annoying. But you do have things like Apple Music, Tidal, you can play karaoke, there's different games that you can play in here, you can stream different stuff in here, you do have Spotify, but you know, there's a bunch of stuff in here. This is not necessarily new for Tesla, but all of the same little goodies are here. You can change the color of the car here. You do have dual wireless charger, which I do think is pretty nice, although if you're going to use your key card, you have to put that there first. But when it comes to the safety suite, Tesla was always kind of the pioneer with this stuff, but the truth is everyone's kind of caught up. So their standard autopilot system, it's a good, you know, adaptive cruise lane keep system, but I would not pay the extra $8,000 for FSD, full self-driving. One, that name is misleading. It is not full self-driving. Always pay attention to the road. And two, it's like, it's good, but a Super Cruise from GM is probably just as good, and a Blue Cruise from Ford also probably pretty similar. So gone are the days where Tesla was far and away the best with their autopilot system. It's still very good. It's just not the best anymore, and it's definitely not worth $8,000. Hey guys, real quick, Matt here. Just wanted to say I hope you've been enjoying the video. If you have, would really appreciate you hitting that subscribe button. I know it doesn't seem like a big deal, but it does go a long way in helping us get access to cars sooner and get access to manufacturer engineers so we can get more information on the cars and get you more information so you can make better decisions. So would really appreciate you hitting that subscribe, like, comment, the whole YouTube thing. But with that, let's get back to the video. All right, here we see, I went to turn on my turn signal, went for the stalk. Dumbest decision ever. Okay. Tesla Model 3, long range all-wheel drive. It's not slow. It's not at all slow. You know, I've been driving this car around a bit this morning, just getting a feel for it, and the thing that stands out to me, like a lot of things do, but one of the things that I've found about myself, and maybe this is a personal thing, life is about a journey of learning self-awareness. And the thing that I've learned about myself is that the Model 3 long-range all-wheel drive makes me drive like a baboon. Like, I don't drive Ioniq 5s and Ioniq 6s like this. I don't drive BMWs like, I'm just like, it feels quick and it feels nimble and kind of darty, and like, it makes me drive faster than I would normally do in basically any other car, which is, you know, maybe a good thing to say about the car. It's probably a bad thing to say about what would happen to my license. It would have a lot of points off and it would get pretty expensive, potentially. But anyway, let's talk about the Model 3. I'm gonna be honest, the things that I like about this car, I really like, and the things that I don't like about this car, I cannot stand. I can't stand not having a turn signal. It doesn't make sense to me that there's no head-up display and no gauge cluster. Like, I know that this is obviously a thing that's existed for however many years now, but this is just give us some stuff that normal legacy automakers would give us. You know, I want to be able to like turn the little knob here and adjust my wing mirrors. Just some conventional legacy automaker stuff in here would go such a long way, because the things that they've improved have gone a long way. They have. Like the interior center console here feels so much sturdier. It's not that gloss black that scratches immediately. It's well thought out. The storage is optimized. It feels more high end. Now, this is a fairly new used car, so I don't know how it'll look in 70,000 miles. Who knows? But it does genuinely feel more solid, more refined, and a better car overall. The interior here is quieter. It's like, I think they said 20% quieter universally in here. The suspension makes the ride so much better than it was last generation, I guess you could say. We'll wait for the Model Y, because that was really the one that really like grinded my gears, you could say. That ride was terrible. So we'll see what they do with the Model Y. But if they do to the Model Y what they did here, I think I'm going to be pretty impressed with the step that they've taken. It's still not like, well, I shouldn't say that. It's definitely bordering on luxury tier, I would say. It's quiet, it feels refined, the throttle calibration feels like it's more manageable if you want to drive smoother. The thing that I don't like, it doesn't feel like it's snapping your neck, is what I mean to say. You don't have to have it in chill mode. See, again, I'm going to go and change lane and I want to press the stalk. Now I'm all thrown off. I'm all charged up now about the turn signal thing. What was I saying? Oh, yeah, power calibration. It's more refined. It builds a little bit more naturally. It just feels more mature, while still feeling like youthful. I'm getting like a youthful vibe from this. I'm driving faster and a little bit more sprightly than I usually would in my old ripe age of 31. But the thing that I don't like, aside from the turn signal thing, is that I can't seem to find a way to turn off one pedal drive, like, or just like regen braking. And again, I have to press the stupid button. I'm just not a one pedal drive person. That's just not my preference, my taste. I get some people like it. I'm sure you would get used to it. But like, I was trying to pull this thing off of, because they had it, the dealership that I borrowed it from, they had it like on the curb, and I wasn't gonna drive this thing over a curb, obviously. So I'm trying to like finesse it around other cars, and it just takes like, it's probably better because I can do smaller, more minute controls, but the fact that it like, I look so jerky backing it off the thing, because You know, I can't just like let it coast or whatever. I don't know. Maybe I'm nitpicking here. I do also feel like I'm rambling. So I guess zooming out, there's a lot to be said about the cultural ramifications of owning and driving a Tesla in early, Q1, Q2 of 2025 here. But we're a car review channel and we review cars. And the fact is, this car is very solid. It just is. You can tell that it's definitely a little bit more mature. Some of the, early teething problems have been sussed out. It definitely feels like a more complete car. And at the price that it's offered at, especially not considering like rebates and stuff, it still represents the best value. If you want the most reliable charging infrastructure, again, some of the stuff is being opened up to other brands, but that's definitely still a pro here. The range for dollar is still a pro. The performance is very good. You can get heated and cooled seat. You get basically all the features, right? So overall, it's kind of hard to complain. The stuff that I shouldn't say it's hard to complain because it's easy to complain about some stuff, but the stuff that it's good at, it's very good at, and the stuff that it's bad at, it's very bad at. So with that, that's the Tesla Model 3. I hope you guys enjoyed it. This was an interesting one to shoot. So leave it down in the comments what you think, and we'll see you in the next one.